NSFW, what is the worst thing you've ever seen or heard in a game of truth or dare? When I was about 15 years old, my HS soccer team had a code girls/guys team spaghetti dinner that turned into a code sleepover. Maybe about 6 guys and 5 girls. We ended up taking a bottle of really cheap Mr. Boston vodka from this kid's parents, and all of us began drinking much faster than 15-year-olds should. I was beginning to feel pretty nauseous, but was determined to stay in the game of truth or dare that we had started. I was then dared to kiss the bare ass cheek of one of the more crude chicks on the girls team. As I pressed my lips to her cheek, she thought it would be hilarious to grab the back of my head and rip as right in my face. The heat and smell were too much for my stomach to bear, and as I pulled away I barfed all over her back and ass. I got dared to use a zipline that nobody had likely touched in decades. So we climbed up a mountain while wasted in the middle of the night, found that my friend was not bullshitting and that it actually did exist, used our zip on it, and sailed over a 1,500-foot drop. And then the thought occurred to me that I had no way of getting back, and I had not even brought a flashlight with me, and had absolutely no knowledge of part of the mountain I was on. So I basically stood in place for 7 hours or so. I don't know if that was the worst, but it was definitely the most stupid, especially considering that the whole point of the game was to get with some girls who were no longer in a partying mood after I disappeared into the night. One of my mates said he had his clock pierced and nobody believed him, as he'd sometimes exaggerate/make up stories. To prove it, he put a straw through the piercing, and then another of my mates was dared to drink his drink through the clock straw. It was hilarious and weird, and both parties regretted it immediately. Was playing truth or dare with a few friends, my best friend and my best friend's wife. When they married, they were both virgins by choice, from a traditional household. We are having fun, and it comes to my turn. I ask my best friend's wife, truth or dare? She answers truth. My friend and I would always joke about arsos despising anal sex and being disgusted by it, so I asked as a joke, have you ever had anal sex? Yes. She answers. Her husband turns bright red and says no, we haven't. The two leave shortly after. Turns out she was a traditional virgin, but had lost her anal virginity back in high school. We didn't really talk after that. The old poop hole loophole. A bit late, but my friend answered a truth and told everyone that he has 2 buttholes. Long story short, I've seen it, and the guy has Edit. What I've learned is there are many damn people with 2 assholes. Color me surprised. Really drunk at a house party in high school. This hot girl named Jennifer took a truth. So the question was what her worst sexual experience had been. The answer devolved into a criffest about how she had actually been forcibly raped by her stepbrother. After that, we didn't play that game very much anymore. When I was 17, I worked as a summer camp counselor. The week of our orientation before the campers arrived, all of the counselors were down by the lake when we started the game of truth or dare. Everybody was pretty normal except for this quiet girl that was a Disney freak. Everything Disney, pajamas, sleeping bag, hair ties, t-shirts, all Disney, all the time. Being 17-year-olds up in the woods, our truths and dares turned sexual pretty quickly. After finishing my dare, I turned to her and asked truth or dare. Truth was the reply. Okay, have you ever had sex? I asked. Yes, but only with one person. My father. It started when I was 12. Game. F-king. Over. Edit. For the people asking for a follow-up, many of the female counselors and naturalists spoke with her that night and the next morning. Her father had been jailed a few years prior to her telling us. One dare was to bake cookies whilst nude, but then we were out of sugar, so a follow-up dare required a second person going to the neighbor's door in underwear to ask for a cup of sugar. It worked and the cookies were delicious. Grad student neighbors didn't even bat an eye. They were probably like those undergrad dumb ducks. Oh well. Back to studying. Man, life sucks. Source was a grad student. Hated it. Was jealous of undergrads and their shenanigans. Edit. Holy shit, I've been gilded. All that suffering in grad school has finally been worth it. Thank you, whoever you are. Fairly tame but seasonally timely. In high school, a group of friends were playing 2D drunk after a party at my house. One of my friends had a crush on a girl and was trying hard to get with her. So when it was her turn to ask him, he suavely stated there. She told him to put one of the lights adorning the nearby Christmas tree into his deck hole. He did. She was disgusted and ended up loudly hooking up with another friend in an adjacent room, like soul crushingly loud, while he sat on the couch nursing his burnt meatus. 'Tis the season, I guess. One time I was dared to kiss this girl and I passed because I was in a long-going relationship with a girl I really loved 3 years, and so I did this instead. I poured really hard rum on my hand and lit it. I had to keep it lit for as long as I could. Once it got too hot to handle, I had to put it out. Part of the dare though was to put it out with the watermelon next to us. So I proceeded to punch it open with my flaming fist and stick my hand in it for 3 long annoying sticky hours. You punched a hole in a watermelon with fire. That is amazingly badass. I was at a truth or dare party in college. Everyone pays $5 to get in and gets the same allotment of Monopoly money. You bet people to do things and accept bets, and whoever has the most at the end of the night got to keep the door. Greatest party ever. I just dared girls to make out with me all night until I ran out of money, so I had to accept a couple dares. Someone dared this other guy to eat a zebra cake off my ass and dared me to drop Tro and allow him to. I figured, I'm not eating it, no big deal. It wasn't that terrible, but it did get my ass all sticky. I also felt like I couldn't really complain because of what the other guy had to do. I wasn't participating, but there was one weird night when one of my daughters had a bunch of friends over. My wife and I were sitting downstairs while they were up in her room apparently playing truth or dare. Over the course of a couple hours we experienced some pretty weird stuff. 2 of my daughter's friends came running downstairs and started twerking before running off again. My daughter came down and said, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant because I'm a horse." Later we heard a splash outside by the pool, and a minute later a couple girls come running into the house wrapped in towels and dripping wet. I had to go tell them to not jump out the window anymore, and that pretty much stopped the shenanigans. At age 18, while at a friend's house sticking around looking for a lighter, he finds an adult toy in his single dad's room. It was one of those hot pink, sparkly dildos with the rabbit thing on it. Something that didn't really seem like a guy toy, and it was in the spare nightstand, so we assumed maybe an old girlfriend's or something. Fast forward a few weeks later, his dad is out of town. There are a few of us over playing truth or dare, and I dare him to do something to his dad's dildo. At first his face turned 10 shades of red embarrassed in front of everyone else, but then he manned up, grabbed it with a Ziploc bag worn like a glove, then rubbed some cut open habanero peppers all over it. This was a Friday night and his dad was supposed to be back Saturday. Saturday night rolls around and he, our other friend, and myself are all at his house, quietly, as the one sneaking in, and I had been drinking. This was roughly 8-ish. As the other friend and I stood in the driveway, we hear the most god-awful, blood-curdling scream. The type of scream that sounds like someone being murdered. We dash in just in time to meet our friend in the hallway as he flies into his dad's room. His mom, dad's ex-wife, is in the floor but naked, curled up in a ball screaming her head off. Apparently his mom and dad had been screwing around behind the family's back. A hospital trip followed, and after spending the night in the not knowing WTF happened, they ended up coming out in the open, getting back together, and then remarried. That was 12 years ago, and they are still together. For their wedding present I gave them a jar of habaneros that they still don't understand to this day. Edit. Wow, this really blew up. I don't know what to say. I feel like I just won an award and didn't have my speech ready. Thank you. Ryan, if you are out there, your mom's burning bush has become mildly famous. I never knew Reddit liked a good fiery love story. I once witnessed a grown white man with a full beard swap clothes with a 16-year-old Chinese girl. We all lost a bit of pride that day. I have to ask, in what situation is both a full-grown man and a 16-year-old playing truth or dare? It wasn't really a dare, but a drunken friend said he'd show us how much of a man he was. In quick succession he chugged about 250 milliliters of Jack Daniels, snorted a line of salt, and poured vinegar into one eye, and squeezed a lemon in the other. Everybody laughed at him, because he had to run to the bathroom crying to wash his eyes. It's not that bad comparatively, but it was still unpleasant. In 4th grade, we played Truth or Dare at my birthday party. It was all dudes, which made it kind of weird. One friend dared another friend to get nude, which was really weird. So my pal begins a striptease as we all beg him to stop. He got down to his stained briefs. Dude did not let that tech drain all the way, and was just beginning to lower them, when we heard a scream. My 7-year-old sister had just walked in the room to see a scrawny self-proclaimed street rapping gangster / meteorologist busting out his hog. He dove into his sleeping bag, and didn't talk to anyone the rest of the night. We decided video games were a lot more fun and immediately ended the game. My friend denied anything ever happened the next day. Edit. Clarification on the street rapping gangster / meteorologist bit. Copied from another reply. This dude was obsessed with weather in elementary school. All he ever talked about. He was a white kid who moved to our very white city from a very diverse low-income city, so he talked like a thug while going on about cold fronts. He ended up becoming a meteorologist, though, so hey, good for him.